Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Cosmic I Ching. We're moving along on this, almost halfway done with this series. And here we have Hexagram 30, Attaining Clarity, which is Li over Li, or fire over fire. The judgment. Firm attachment to what is correct brings success. Care of the cow brings good fortune. The sage shows the theme of this hexagram to be the cosmic principle of clarity as a characteristic feature of cosmic logic. And you'll notice the name of this hexagram, it differs quite a bit from the standard human design interpretation of this number 30. We'll see more about that as we go along. So this is about attaining clarity. Like all cosmic principles that form harmony, clarity is attained through a combination of thinking and feeling. It cannot be attained through mental effort alone. Clarity is attained through connecting with our inner truth with the help of the sage. The cosmic logic within a situation is mostly perceptible after the fact. To attain clarity, all of a person's inner senses are involved. The result is a consensus of these senses, which in their aggregate form as common sense. However, because our senses are often blocked by spells caused by our conditioning, we need the help of the sage to find the inner truth until such time as we've liberated our inner senses. Finding the inner truth requires that we ask the sage for a hexagram and then clarify its meaning with the help of the RTCM until we've reached an adequate understanding of the situation. The cow is a metaphor for a person's common sense. Care of the cow means to recognize the true function of all the senses and to free them from the spells and poison arrows that are put on them when we dismiss or denigrate their value and give preponderance instead to the two outer senses of seeing and hearing. All the inner senses have figurative components that together tell the inner truth about a situation. Our nose, for example, wrinkles involuntarily when something is foul. We also need to consciously affirm the neglected senses by saying the emphatic inner yes to them that will restore them to their proper place in our personalities. Firm attachment to what is correct counsels a person to firmly attach himself to following the inner truth he has discovered about the situation and not allow himself to be drawn away from it by arguments that point so-called obvious truths or absolute truths, which stipulate what he is supposed to think and attach himself to. This hexagram also concerns false attachments a person may have, whether they are to an idea, a belief, a person, a self-image, possessions, his nationality, race, family, or to a desire, a pact, a promise, or to a goal. All false attachment has its origin in the adoption of rigid beliefs promoted by the collective ego. These beliefs are often exalted as ancient wisdom or established truths that we are not permitted to question. Well, we're questioning them right now, all right? Hell yeah. Behind false attachment is the ego's fear of loss. This fear leads the person to attaching himself to things, or it drives him to the opposite extreme of making non-attachment a goal. Even beliefs that rigidly practice non-attachment as the measure of spiritual achievement are themselves a form of attachment. Clarity is lacking when we attach ourselves to the wrong things. A person may receive this hexagram when he is too attached to his appearance, name, class, background, tradition, etc. In all these cases, he lacks the clarity to see that it is the ego in him which is attached to them. It's not his true self, it's ego. The ego is not your true self. Likewise, a person may receive this hexagram when he is not attached enough to what is correct as to his cosmic virtues or to his body because he considers it base or unattractive. Clarity is to see that his psyche and body are one, and that to hate or disregard any part of it is to invite its abuse and injury. The same applies when a person puts aside his integrity, dignity, modesty, and sense of what is correct in exchange for egotistical gains. Another aspect of clarity has to do with the difference between acting from faith, which is a sort of attaching ourselves to something we want to believe is true, and acting from what we have learned through our experience in consulting the sage. In the former case, we put ourselves out on a limb and saw it off to prove that what we believe is true. When we find ourselves falling on the ground, the ego justifies our belief by saying we failed to have enough faith. In learning from the sage, we recognize the cosmic principles as true because they fit the practicability and uniqueness of the situation. These are never absolute truths, but are guidelines for relating to situations within the cosmic harmony. Receiving this hexagram can also call attention to a person's looking to another for help, rather than asking for help from the helpers of the invisible world. Line 1, moving with confused steps, but if one is sincere, there is no blame. The line indicates a situation in which a person, upon consulting the sage, does not know how to interpret the counsel given. He therefore moves uncertainly. He would like to let go of his beliefs, but still feels the security in the attachment he has to them. No blame is saying that if he puts his established belief aside, he will be protected by the cosmos, even if he makes a mistake. His sincerity will bring cosmic protection against the ill consequences of making mistakes. The uncertainty addressed above may also be due to feelings of guilt for abandoning an established belief. Guilt is built into the collective ego's program to keep him attached to its beliefs. He needs to treat guilt as a spell that the collective ego has put on him. Receiving this line can also mean that what a person has learned from the sage in a previous lesson was a handhold, and that he needs to give the sage space to expand his understanding. Line 2, yellow light, supreme success, supreme success. Yellow light refers to the way the common sense shows us the relative truth of things, and thus produces in us a just and moderate view of them. This light is produced by the consensus of all the senses, which includes inner truth. Because the clarity produced is in harmony with the cosmos, it leads to supreme success. The yellow light of clarity contrasts with the harsh white light of judgment that comes purely from the intellect and from applying absolute standards. This judgment is based purely on the appearance of things and is expressed in terms of a person or thing being good or evil. Relating to this way of judging is the mistaken idea of there being a culprit or a guilty party, which in themselves create demonic consciousness. The words themselves create demonic consciousness. It all comes back to the false use of language. When people or things are described in words that falsely imply the existence of a natural opposition, such as black and white, good or evil, culprit or victim, demonic energies are created. The use of such words creates and maintains the demonic sphere of consciousness. Opposites do not exist within the cosmic reality because the cosmos operates only through the attraction that exists between its complementary aspects. When a person calls another a culprit, he creates a negative attachment between himself and that person that becomes a fate for both of them, so long as the acceptance of that judgment exists. Such judgments need to be treated as projections and spells, which can be deprogrammed, by the way. Supreme success describes the effect of saying the inner no to everything that is disharmonious, as one might say no to a child who has misbehaved. When, however, the inner no is said with harsh feelings attached to it, it only further opposition is created. Line 3, in the light of the setting sun, men either beat the pot and sing or loudly bewail the approach of old age, misfortune. The light of the setting sun refers to a person seeing his life in a body from this point on as being all downhill. Death is the specter at the end of the descent, an endless chasm that awaits. Such an idea has no cosmic basis. A person can receive this line when he has already given up on the possibility of his life succeeding in a harmonious and meaningful way. He imagines that it is too late to correct things and may have even lost his will to live. He does not realize that there's always the possibility of making a new beginning with the help of the sage. Even if there is only the smallest ember of chi energy giving life to his existence, it is possible to reinvigorate his supply of life force. What this requires is his willingness to take his correct place in the cosmic whole and to make the effort to free himself from his mistaken beliefs about life and death. He also needs to deprogram any preconceived images and beliefs about old age, that it is accompanied by sickness, debilitating diseases, suffering, the onset of deafness, blindness, helplessness, etc. Since every belief about what might happen projects itself into reality. Hell, I don't even believe aging is a real thing. If what's in this cosmic teaching is true, then old age is created by our belief in it. Isn't that crazy? Line 4, its coming is sudden. It flames up, dies down, is thrown away. The straw of fire that flames up, dies down, and is thrown away can refer to glimpses of clarity the person attains through his learning with the sage. Because he does not inquire further, his understanding is only partial, and therefore he jumps to the false conclusion that what the sage has said was not true. Receiving this line can also indicate the presence of seed phrases that discredit the good results achieved through inner effort, such as "it cannot be as easy as that," in reference to saying the inner no. "It is as easy as that." "Anything worthwhile is difficult," it's not. Or "no pain, no gain." Not true. You don't need pain to have gain. For such a process, one needs a human guide. No, you don't. "It flames up, dies down, is thrown away" describes the way enlightened ideas coming from human masters fail, because they have no substance for the person who follows them. The reason is that they keep him from consulting his own inner truth. When a person consults his inner truth, his insights are the product of his connection with the cosmic consciousness. These insights have substance in that they manifest in the harmonious way his life succeeds, in the fact that they are supported by all the cosmic helpers, and in the fact that they create in him a true inner independence and self-worth. Line 5, tears and floods, sighing and lamenting, good fortune. Tears and floods, sighing and lamenting can indicate a self-blame spell a person has put on himself after realizing that he has been following the mistaken belief that one must accept adversity. He may even have been convinced that adversity is part of life and that accepting it made him a good person. Having given up this belief is the first step toward good fortune. The second step requires only that he rid himself of his self-blame spell for having so valiantly followed the wrong belief. Tears and floods, as in prolonged mourning, comes from the belief that death is the enemy of human existence. The person who believes this gives power to death by raising it as an active specter in his life. He needs to rid himself of seed phrases such as "death is human fate" or "death is lamentable," since these phrases form spells. The same applies to the image of death as a reaper. Line 6, the king uses him to march forth and chastise. Then it is best to kill the leaders and take captive the followers. No blame. The king referred to as the sage. The line informs a person that he is meant to be helped by the sage in correcting the abuses of others through saying the inner no to their inappropriate actions and intentions, and through not participating himself in the evil being done. Killing the leaders instead of the followers refers to saying the inner no to the central idea that is responsible for the problem. Deprogramming the central idea enables the helpers to take captive the followers, its supporting rationales, and render them harmless. It's all about the ideas and beliefs. This line also calls our attention to times when it is unavoidable to relate to people who, through allowing themselves to be completely dominated by the ego, have exhausted their life energy so that they are among the walking dead, which is a real thing. Such people have totally separated themselves from the cosmic whole. They're turning their wheels over to the collective ego. Their bodies live on by the fact that the egos in them steal the life energy of others. The ego achieves this through gaining the pity, sympathy, and compassion of these others, or through making them feel indebted, guilty, or otherwise obligated to pay attention to them. When a person realizes through using the RTCM that he's being drained of chi energy in this way, he needs to be inwardly disconnected and neutral in the presence of such people to prevent giving them his energy. It is also important that he not view them as culprits, as that too would give them energy, because the sage is in the presence of every person. It is helpful to ask the sage to call in the cosmic army to kill the demonic elements that have taken their bodies and to revive their true selves. Wow, that went off the deep end pretty quick, but that's really what's happening, guys. Like, hell, the walking dead are real, you know? It's the ego. The ego is literally taken over the bodies of so many people, and that's because people have given over their inner centers and blocked their own sense of inner truth, given it over to the false, mistaken ideas and beliefs, collective beliefs of humanity called the collective ego, which, you know, there's a ton of beliefs in that initiate that. But yeah, the sage is in the presence of every person. So it can, if you're in a tough situation, you can literally call on the sage for help, and it will result in a miraculous outcome to that situation, which is incredible. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.